God you've returned. I need your help.
So after finishing the 2021 Myst remake, I really had a hankering to go back and play a lot of the other old Cyan games, and Riven is the first choice for me because it starts up right after Myst. Hello there people of the internet, I'm Cursed Blake, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite game ever, Riven. So why am I making this video? I think that this game is one of the most important games in gaming history. Myst is often seen as one of the best games ever made, but I think Riven is actually better. And in this video, I'm going to go through why I think that and whether you should revisit it today. So stick around and find out what I think. As soon as I saw Atreus sitting at that table in Dunny, asking for my help, I was hit by a wave of nostalgia. This game had the vibes that I was missing from the 2021 remake of Myst. The classic FMV is still here, it hasn't been remastered, this game is as bare bones as you get it. This is basically exactly as we saw it in 1997. I think Riven should be more viewed as less than a sequel to Myst, but more of Myst without restraint. Myst was made in a time where there were huge constraints. These guys didn't have as much creative control as they wanted, and the hardware was really hard for them to work with. It took months of rendering to get all the static images for Myst, and to get them down to the size that they wanted to put on one CD. Riven doesn't have this issue. It was much larger scope of a game, and they knew what they were doing. That's why I think that Riven is a much superior game to Myst, because it doesn't have the restraints that Myst obviously did. For me, Myst has always felt really linear. This game does not have that issue. You don't jump from one main age like in Myst to other ages, you just travel around different islands. These islands are all interconnected and the puzzles are interconnected also. You have much more free reign to go and explore and figure out the puzzles in your own time. This allows you to feel more immersed and the puzzles feel more organic. I think the puzzles are a significant step up from Myst. The puzzles feel hard, but definitely achievable, and there is a significant sense of achievement when you actually get the puzzles right without a walkthrough. The puzzles in Myst seem almost simplistic in comparison to Riven. I absolutely love this game, but I've never finished it without a walkthrough. The puzzle with the fire marbles always does me in. I love it that the puzzles are spread across multiple islands, and I think that's a huge strength. It makes the game less linear, and I always think that that's a great thing. I think that if you enjoyed the puzzles in Myst, you will love Riven. So if you've never played Riven, it is definitely worthwhile playing now. I think that if you enjoy puzzle games, Riven is the best one I have ever played, and that includes the rest of the Cyan games. The other thing that I noticed after going back and replaying the original Myst is how much better the pre-renders for Riven look. The scenery looks incredible, and I think it holds up really, really well. One thing that I found with old games that kind of happens a lot of the time is that the nostalgia tells you that it's a great game, but you go back and then you struggle against the UI, the structure, just everything about the game. Riven doesn't have that. It just feels like you can move around and it's just easy and everything is just smooth. There is this little weird thing with the aspect ratio being completely different to what we do use these days, and I'll show that on the screen right now. So when I'm actually editing this whole video, I'm actually putting it in and zooming it in a little bit so we take off that weird aspect ratio, because it looks so much better. However, this is how I actually played through. I was really intrigued how it would feel to go from 3D environments back to 2D point and click adventure. And I didn't miss the 3D. That's something that I found very odd. I felt like the 2D worked better. It's just not something that I miss. I think that this holds up perfectly well, and I think that Cyan could actually go and build this exactly the same, just re-render stuff and make it look absolutely gorgeous, and it would feel incredible. And I think that's something that's really awesome about this, is it just feels like it hasn't aged that badly. The FMV in Riven is a significant step up from Myst. The FMV is used more inventively. The characters seem to be more blended into the scenes of Riven, and you can walk around in those scenes and it doesn't really feel like you're walking on a film set. The first time that I saw a character in Riven, I was utterly blown away. In the first scene, you see a guard and it really feels like he is there. It's not just some weird green screened in image. He just seems like he's actually there, and he actually steals the book from you. One of the things that I think is really good about this, the FMV is so well blended in the game that it just feels like it's right. Like, there's a couple of times where you'll come across characters just randomly being in scenes and it just feels real. The immersion is there and it's absolutely incredible. And I think that's a big strength for this game. The fact that the immersion is even higher than Myst is something that I didn't expect going back and revisiting this game. I thought that it was all going to be nostalgia, but the FMV holds up. I would even say that the FMV is better than the Myst remake. I really love the interactions you have with Gen when you teleport to his age. That FMV section in particular is absolutely fantastic. It's very easy to hate a character when they actually look real. Polygons just don't do it for me. Real actors portraying real emotions are a million times better than whatever else you can do. Even with the modern character models that you see modeled off actors' faces, I still don't think it is as good as FMV. So that's one thing. If you really like the FMV in Myst, Riven will blow you away with how much better it is. So if you just want to revisit it just for the FMV, I would say that's 80% of the reason why I revisit this game. So I said something which could probably be considered hyperbolic in the start of this video, which is, I think that Riven is one of the most important games in gaming history. That might seem a little bit crazy to say, but I honestly believe this. This game showed me that art and story can be on equal footing for gameplay and the game to still be fantastic and praised by critics and audience alike. So I'm going to be completely honest, I don't play this game for the puzzles. I play this game, and I think I mentioned this in my Myst review, that I play this for the story. I feel like this game had a much more clear direction of where it wanted to go storyline-wise. The characters feel more fleshed out, and there just seems to be more story interwoven with the puzzles. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from Riven, is that everything seems to be interwoven with the puzzles, whereas in Myst, they just weren't. Puzzles were their own separate thing, and they just didn't feel intertwined with the story like they are here. I love the story of Atreus, and I come back just for that every time. I view games through the lens of Riven. I don't know, that might sound weird, because not every game is a puzzle game, but I still compare it in the scope. If a game has the art and the story and the gameplay all in the same tier, then I consider that to be a magnificent game. Games that weigh too much one side or the other, I consider good, but not the pinnacle of gaming. This game is one of those top tier games. And I think that everybody should play this game, at least once. Even if you don't get anywhere and you just run around the island like I did when I was 9 years old and just go in the cable car everywhere, I think that's fine. I think that that is a worthwhile experience, and that's the experience I had for many years, and I still loved it. It's only when I went back to play it when I was in my 20s and went, hey, this is actually really awesome and I love it, and finished it and thought it was a much more expansive experience than just running around and going in cable cars. So I think that everyone can get something out of this game, no matter what age.
Most of what you'll need to know is in there.
Another thing that's had a significant boost is the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack for this game. I think it is significantly better to Myst, as it has this more atmospheric vibe. The music doesn't necessarily have to be generated by a synthesizer and have to be quite small like it did in Myst. There's something about this soundtrack in particular that just gives me goosebumps, and I think that's a good sign that the soundtrack is top-notch. So the question I posed in the start of this was, should you revisit Riven? And I think the answer is a resounding yes. You should revisit this game, or you should visit it for the first time. This game is absolutely fantastic and is better in every single way than Myst is. The soundtrack, the puzzles, just everything is better. I still think that Riven is better than the 2021 Myst remake. And that's saying something. And it's not just, hey, the Myst remake doesn't really have the FMV the way I want it. It's more than that. It's the combination of the FMV is there, the story is better, the characters are more fleshed out. You just feel like more urgency in the story and all those sort of things. The game is just better. So I think that you guys should definitely pick up Riven, the sequel to Myst, today and revisit it or visit it for the first time. I'll put a link in the description for the GOG listing of this game because I think that's the best way to get it, and I've never really had any issues with stability from GOG, so you guys should get it there. I'm not endorsed by GOG, I'm not partnered with them or anything, it's just where I prefer to get games. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review. I've had a lot of fun making it, and it's always fun to revisit Riven, and I hope that you guys get to visit Riven soon. If you guys have enjoyed this and want to see more of me, please subscribe just here. If you guys want to check out one of my other videos talking about other crazy games like Myst or Death Trash or something, check that out just here. And thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.